Yeah. Everybody, we have reached 1,500 subscribers. Thank you, everybody, so much for the continued support. We have absolutely been blowing up this channel as of recent weeks, and I love it. So, as to show my thankfulness, I'm going to take you a little bit behind the curtains, and I'm going to show you the lifestyle of an alicorns. Alicorns have always had this stigma of, just sitting at home, doing nothing, the OCs, not being very imaginative. Well, today, no more of that. Today, we're going to show you exactly what alicorns do. You'd be surprised of how much there is. Maybe we're going to learn a little bit about the comfort, the food that they eat, and of course, at the end of this, I want to tell you a little bit about my OC and how the story of his creation came to be, and ultimately what helped me make him the way he is and deviate from all the weird, admittedly sometimes badly made OCs, and what makes New Live the way he is. But this title is all about lifestyle of the alicorn, so the first one we're going to talk about is sleep. Of course, alicorns also need to sleep, and you'd be surprised of how specific that is, but for a practical view of things, let's move to an actual bedroom. So first, let's talk about accommodation. How do alicorns actually sleep? Like, first thing, he's gonna come to your house and you'll be like, well, where do I sleep? And then you have to make a bed properly for them. Otherwise, you'll be cursed. Just one of the more harmless things. But on a serious note, there is a guide on how to bed an alicorn, and this is something a friend of mine in Camelot told me, and she basically does the chambers for Princess Celestia, and the guide goes like this. So, but we don't have Princess Celestia, but we're gonna have Twilight, who had a little bit of a rough day, and she's gonna sample for us. So, if your bed is in the center, there's no walls or anything next to the bed, then you do it like this. You have one big pillow and then one small pillow. It goes like this. So let's take the big, no, not Twilight. We're gonna take the big pillow in the small pillow, and you just put those onto the bed like this. See how the small pillow is basically meant so the alicorn can put their hinds up against it. That's basically what this has done. This also means there's like no risk of anything falling off. Now, the next step is, of course, if there is a wall involved that the bed is tucked into or against to. In this case, we're going to let's use one wall for this first one. So this is, let's move all of this now. Twilight, I'm gonna move all of this now. Just gonna take you, and you, and move you right over. So now imagine the bed is here, but now you realize there's this cold wall that is against everything here. We can't have that. So now you get rid of the small pillow at the bottom. Let me do this, everybody. Do this properly, because this is educative, everybody. Gonna take this, get rid of you for now. We may need you later, though. Actually, we kind of do need you later. You put the small pillow against here. You put the smaller pillow against the side here, so the alicorn like can snug against it, and you then just get a big pillow at the bottom like this. Come on. Oh, I am gonna get this done, everybody. You watch. And you just, nope. Here we go. And you can just put this here at the bottom. You see? Now the alicorn's sort of like laying in the center, but you have like the back against this side. And now the final scenario is this one. There's a third wall, and what this allows you to now do is have sort of a little bit of a snuggle corner. This means the alicorn likes it with a lot of pillows, and this is why this situation calls for even more small pillows, and you basically you line it like this. Let me move all the small pillows. All of those go to the sides now, and we're gonna put you there. Wait for it. I'm gonna get this done. So there's two pillows on the sides that are just lined up against this, but then you're not done yet. You actually need a third pillow, a third tiny pillow, and that one goes right underneath the alicorn's head, so you have a little bit more elevation, everybody. And of course, this does offer you a few more options if the alicorn wants it down here instead. Now, of course, there's the special case, and this is the last one, then we can go over to something else. If, the alicorn, like Cadence, has a second pony in bed, then of course you take two small pillows instead of the big one at the head, and I think that's pretty much it. All right, every pony, let's talk a little bit about cuisine, because when an alicorn crashes in your place, they're going to be hungry, and you don't want to give them bad food, so let's make sure that does not happen. So next, let's talk a little bit about what alicorns actually eat. What do you do to feed an alicorn? If there's one in your home, what do you do? Are you going to get cursed? No, you're not going to get cursed. Instead, you're going to make good food. This first one is a simple soup, but we're taking it a little bit further and making it look nicely intense and have many flavors. So we will need these ingredients, and you see them. Potatoes, spring onions, you have some carrots, some ground celery, then we have parsley, and then in the little tray, we have some noodles and 2 eggs. Those are going to be important. The eggs are especially important, and in terms of difficulty, the eggs is, I think, the one part where you can mess up the whole dish. So let's go along and be careful with this. First step, we're going to cut the carrots. You see how it's sort of like almost sharpened the carrot like a pencil? That's how you want to cut it. You want to get little strips. That means the flavor comes out more quickly, and the whole dish cooks a little faster as well. And then you're going to do the potatoes, and you see there's about an equal ratio of potatoes and carrots, but the carrots are a little sliced thinner than the potatoes. The potatoes, they can be sort of thick. The thing is, when you're cooking these, the starch of the potatoes is going to come out, and that's going to help you make your gravy. Next, we're going to do the spring onion, and you see it's just enough to sort of cover everything. That's what we want. That's going to make it so we get a nice little oniony flavor. But it's if you want to mix it up a little bit, you can try different kinds of onions. But I like spring onions because it's not too intense, and it allows the other flavors to come through without it overpowering everything else. So next we're going to do the ground celery. You see how I've made 4 big chunks, and I just threw the parsley in there. Those are going to be in the soup as well, but when you're done and you're plating, of course you take those out, every pony. Very important. And once you've done all of this, you're going to start to let that boil for a solid 15 minutes. And I think that's about 1,250 milliliters of water. But you let that boil for 15 to 20 minutes, or until you start seeing the gravy becoming sort of dark. This is like almost watery coffee, if that makes any sense. But it's supposed to be rather dark at this point. And while this is happening, while you're noticing that the sauce and everything is starting to become colored, that's when you go ahead and put out a pan with a little bit of oil. We're going to be needing that later. And once you've done that, it's about time, after those 15 to 20 minutes, to throw in the noodles, because those are going to take around another 10 minutes depending on what you use, and until this is done. So now comes the intricate part. When there's only 5 minutes left to go for this, you're going to split the eggs, every pony. This is the delicate moment. We split the eggs into the egg whites and egg yolks. The egg yolks we set aside. We set those aside, but the egg whites, we transfer them into the pan, and we're going to cook them until they look like this. This is going to become our garnish. But the egg yolk is going to go into the soup, and we're going to stir them. We have to make sure to stir this quickly. We don't want big lumps of egg. We want nice little tiny strands of it in our soup, every pony. And once we've done all of this correctly, we can serve it. And this is what it should be looking like. You see, this is our soup. We have nice thick little pieces of egg. If you look closely, I put the parsley in there just for a little bit of eye candy, I guess. We have carrots and everything, and a thick gravy usually indicates a lot of flavor. And at the top, you see how I sort of used the egg as a garnish. And of course, every pony, you have to make sure that you season the egg, but don't season the soup. You don't need any salt in the soup if you've done it correctly, but a little pepper is perfectly fine. And just for a little bit of comparison, look at the gravy. Look at how thick and cloudy that is. That is the sign that there's a lot of flavor in there. Now, we'll tell you this much. It is almost sort of sweet and sour. It's got that perfect balance between the sweetness from the carrots and the acidity from the onions. And of course, you have the starch from the potatoes and the noodles thickening it up along with the yolk. And that is how you make a pretty amazing soup. And I tell you, if you're not that adept in the kitchen and you want to make some food, this is a good thing to get you started with, because everything, or mostly everything, happens in one pot except for the egg whites, and even that you can leave out if you're insecure about it. But this is just a way of using the egg whites. You don't want to discard anything. Always use everything that you have. All right. So now that we've seen this sort of soupy dish, let's move on to a little more hearty dish, every pony. So this next one is called Canterlot sliders, and for this you're going to need these ingredients: carrots, an eggplant. You have potatoes you have 2 potatoes. There are 3 onions. Notice how 2 of them are white ones, and we have a red onions. You can use any assortment you wish, and that on the plate there is a little bit of cottage cheese. Now, the way you're gonna cut these is you're actually going to make some thick slices, not like we did with the soup. This time we want thick slices. Look at how big this is. This is how you want to be cutting them, and this is what you're going to be doing to all the vegetables. You're going to do this to all of them. And there you go. Look at, you see how we have them all in a bowl? This is where you're going to have them for a little bit, and just gather them. And look at that, the onions and all that. It looks adorable. But now we move on to putting them into a pot, and we want to boil them a little bit just to get the carrots and potatoes soft. But we're gonna take some of these vegetables out as they boil. That is basically where the magic happens. We're gonna but we're gonna keep them in there for 10 minutes or so, just till the water starts to get a little foggy. You'll notice how the eggplant starts to get a little puffy on the outside. When that happens, we split them up, every pony. It's like we make them go separate ways. We have the eggplants and the onions that are going into the pan, and we're going to actually fry those a little bit, whereas we're going to have the potatoes and the carrots staying in the pot and continuing to become soft. That's how we want them. Now, while this is frying, I made Canterlot sauce, and what this is, it's tomatoes, mascarpone, and some celery grinded together. I think this is like 4 tomatoes, and you basically want this sort of almost creamy looking color, every pony. So once everything is shaping up, over here we have a little bit of cheese that I decided to throw in the mix as well. It's your choice if you want more or not, but this dish is essentially one that allows you a lot of freedom when you're making it. But once everything is done, things have fried, the potatoes and all that is cooked, this is what you should be with, and that means you're moving on to the assembly, and that is arguably the hardest section here. But if you do it correctly, it looks something like this. Of course, you can assemble them in any way you please, but you see you have eggplant, potato, then you have, I think, red onion in there, carrot, then more eggplant, and you can stack them as high as you feel. Just, your confidence is the limit, and your precision with your host. And there you go, look at that. I put a little cheese in there as well. And that is going to melt because all the veggies are still hot. So, yes. Next up, we're going to move over to this. Look at how everything just sort of smoothly flows down. That is something I wanted to have in there because ponies were like, what if you showed a little bit of video footage when you're serving this? Well, look at this. Look at how this goes down. This is amazing. And then, of course, you can top it with a little bit of the cottage cheese. That's why that's there as well. And if you cut into it, I tried to get a cross section. It didn't work out well, but this is essentially what happens when we cut into it. You have a perfect dish ready to go and to chow on. This is going to be something that will make an alicorn happy. And of course, you can put multiple of these stacks onto the plate, but I tell you, these will fill you pretty quickly because there's potatoes and stuff in there, and that is bound to fill up a pony pretty quickly. All right, so we've talked a bit about the main dishes and a soup as a starter, but as a dessert, there's actually a link in the description where we made some Canterlot pancakes, and I tell you, Canterlot pancakes is probably a hard dish to do, but if you've done all these 2 fine, I think you can do the pancakes as well. It just needs a lot of ingredients. It needs a lot of ingredients. But aside from food, of course, let's talk a little bit about entertainment, because alicorns can get bored easily and they need to be occupied, every pony. So one way to entertain an alicorn, of course, is by playing games like we've done it on the channel. You can play role-play games, you can do simulations, you can do anything. It's just going to be something to occupy the mind of the alicorn. But of course, every pony, gaming is not the only form of alicorn, and if you'll ask Twilight or Celestia even, they'll suggest you to read books. Those can also be super duper entertaining. And A few suggestions include this one about magic, this one about not so safe magic, but it's a fine read anyway. Or if you want to do some group activities, of course, you can, ask the alicorn. They love telling you stories about the very, very long lives that they've had, and it is a very nice way to get to know them too. All right, then. So now that we've learned a little bit about what the alicorns do, what an alicorn usually likes, what they eat, what they sleep like, let's talk a little bit about the whole OC being an alicorn thing and how you can make sure that if you have an alicorn OC, or if you want to, generally learn how to make a good OC, then that's what we're going to be talking about right now. So for this, we're going to go onto this forum. The first one we're trying to talk about is appearance. That is the big, big important one. Like even before you going into the backstory, which I think is the backbone of any OC. But let's talk about appearance. You see how this picture I found on the forum. See on the left you have this. Okay, can you actually get? You can actually go a little closer. There we go. Look at this. Look at this pink thing, and the wings are a little bit too over the top. But and look at these over look at these. This is too many. Like if you're going to have them, at least I mean they both have their own sort of like accessory on the host, but make them don't spam them is what I'm trying to say. That's like 8 accessories, and she just has like who's even to me that could potentially be over the top. Like if you've seen the alicorns at the gala, they don't wear that much. But the crown is one you could do. This is why my OC has his hat, because as a signature thing, that's sort of his way. Because he still likes to be sort of a pony of every pony else. He does not want to scare every pony away with a big crown and looking super intimidating. Then a necklace would be an interesting thing. Yeah, just some original piece of clothing. And look at these. Look at the coloring scheme on this. And especially these two are recolors. If you can tell, don't make them be recolors. Every pony you can do better. And at least how I've started my appearance, at least that happened in the OC Maker. But then of course you can go ahead and add on top of that, like vector the wings a little properly, make the eyes look different. And that's how you slowly get into becoming an original pony. That's why it's called OC, original character. So next let's go into the whole backstory, because I think that's probably the make or break situation. Like if the backstory is too generic or too over the top, then I think the alicorn isn't gonna be a very popular pony. Oh, look at this down there. I can't even see that. Or right, that kind of alicorn OCs. Yeah, this exists. This is unfortunate that this exists. Ouch, that hurts your eyes. So here we go over to this. We talked about appearance, that's why I'm not going to do that a second time. But here we go about potential clones. This is talking story-wise as well. Like, people don't go ahead and make a second Fluttershy who's, also a shy pony, ironically, and also somehow likes animals. That's why it's called original. I like how they put it in red. This is important. Here we go. This is for Alicorn specifically. Don't make them be that perfect pony. Don't make them be, that third cousin to Twilight Sparkle. Make them be their own pony. Make them have grown into this. Make them have learned or something. This is like how I did it. Besides my character's backstory, that is also another video that I did a while ago. Actually, I think that's already 2 years ago. Sheesh, I'm getting old. And here we have the generic background story where someone died. They're an outcast of society. This is generic. This isn't exciting, because this is the kind of story that alicorns, would only have if they like watched movies. This is like I don't know, what feels like 90% of OCs just do something like this. This isn't exciting every pony. I mean, sure it could happen, but do something different. Do something cool and exciting and also relatable. I mean, not every pony's gonna have this happen to them. Some people are just those who work their way up and are gifted and such. And then there's this one at the bottom. Come on, every pony watching, I'm pretty sure we can agree that this is not something you want to have as an OC. I prefer, having a pony who's, just a normal alicorn, like you've seen it in the show, like Celestia, Luna, and I think almost one of the more interesting characters to me is Cadence, because she's not like Luna and Celestia, as they rule all of Equestria, but rather they rule a certain part, like she rules the Crystal Kingdom or something. And like I see over the Everfree Forest, this gives you a little bit more wiggle room of making a sort of area for the Alicorn to rule over, and at the same time tone down their powers, so you get a little bit more of a balanced character. And that brings me to the next thing in terms of OC. Every pony has their quirks and the things that they do personality wise. Maybe they're scared, maybe they're a little paranoid, maybe they are like Twilight in that they super organize everything. Like every pony has something that makes them stand out besides their story and their appearance. Make them have personality. That's an important one. All characters that are like memorable usually are that way because they had some quirky personality. Like if Twilight wasn't an egghead who, read everything, that wouldn't be nearly as memorable, even though she's a cool character and she looks amazing. It's the quirks. It's like the song goes where they're like, we're not flawless. That's essentially the most important part about an alicorn. But I think with that, we've seen a lot about alicorn lifestyle, how a good alicorn is made, how do you feed one, how do you bring them to bed, how do you entertain them. And every pony, if you think about it, today's episode was really more of an instruction how to feel like an alicorn for a day. Think about it. But before I end this, let me tease you a little bit about something that's up and coming, because some pony did something. I'm gonna show you. And that would be this, every pony. Look, Revere made this, a famous and amazing pony who is awesome for making something like this. Look at this. But of course, there's some things that don't work as intended, but this is going to be fixed at some point. But look at that. Yeah, you thought alicorns are fake. New Leaf is fake. Well, what do you think about this? I'm as real as it gets. Alright, every pony. But I suppose with that, I thank all you lovely ponies so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, and remember, every pony, if there's an alicorn looking at you, don't worry, he's not gonna do anything. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified whenever there's a new video, and there's new stuff here every single day, including a pony who's gonna enjoy some time out in nature, because seriously, it's that time of the year, and it is relaxing beyond anything else.